I got it jumbled up.
Right. Maybe we should look at them. You hear that, David? Do you want me to shut the door?
No, I'm gonna reprint his third one. Looks like that's what has caused this delay.
All right, I'm good to go here.
I'll just reprint that third one for you. Okay?
All right, thank you. All right, let me know when everybody is ready, and I'll get us going here. Oh, okay. I'll count us down then. In 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb is also a pilot. And Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have got to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, you're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. Hold on a second. David, I grabbed the wrong one there. We'll go from the intro to here, David. We air your real. There's going to be a little pause that you have to edit there. Okay. We air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or search for Barb. You'll find her on almost all of the popular podcast platforms like iHeartRadio and others. So, Barb, what's in store for today?
Well, Richard, I'm excited, of course, about today's show because the first topic I'm gonna cover is we have 3 or 4 different buy before you sell programs. And what that means is it's a way to make that transition from one house to another without making an offer contingent on your home selling, which is a big ball and chain for home sellers and home buyers. That home sellers don't want to take the offers, and it kind of takes away the opportunity for the buyers to better negotiate. And also it takes away the requirement to have to move twice if the timing doesn't work out just right. So I'm pretty excited about covering that. And then the next topic's a little sensitive. I might get in trouble for this one, but I'm going to talk about how to change real estate agents when it's time to make that transition. When you think the service or person that's providing the service is not really effective for you, and I'll give you tips on how to handle that. The third topic is how to sell a rental home and keep your sanity. It's kind of a tricky thing to do because a lot of times when people have rental homes, The tenants may not leave it in the condition that you would if you were to put it on the market. So you've got to have some downtime for repairs and updates. In the meantime, you go on the market, and then there is a period of time where the house is empty, and that could be very costly. But with a little bit of planning, we can actually make that transition go very quickly and very smoothly. And then the last topic is the best way to sell a house fast in Colorado's higher inventory market. Now, the buyers, unless they're getting a screaming deal and they're up against competition, it's a little tougher to get them to stick to the transaction. Sometimes deals fall out. So we're going to talk about some solutions for that. And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
So, Barb, with more homes on the market and the concern of homes sitting on the market for months, how does a home seller who wants to buy another home make that move in a low stress way by being able to buy their next home, avoid missing out on the perfect home, and sell their current home all stress free? How do you do it, Barb?
Well, it's been my experience that most home sellers will not make a move until they have a destination in mind, because they don't want to be homeless, of course. And they're worried about, okay, what if my house sells too fast? What if I have to scramble to line up my next home? What if the timing doesn't work out? So we've got some really beautiful solutions for people in that situation. I've seen people actually sell their homes and then rent an apartment and then go under contract for their next home. Maybe it was new construction or they were waiting to build a house or whatever. But a lot of people really don't like that moving twice scenario, or putting their stuff into storage and then having to move it out of storage into their new place and not really timing it well. So that's one issue. Another issue is if the seller is trying to time it all at once. Now, I have seen people pull this off where they'll go, okay, put my house on the market, go under contract, go down to another state, make an offer contingent on my home closing, not selling, which is better than most of the contingent offers I get on my listings are, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, will you reserve the house for me and wait for me to sell my home? And oh, by the way, my home is not on the market yet. There's just too much uncertainty for that deal. So a lot of times the buyers will face rejection in that scenario. And that's what the traditional real estate agent is going to tell you to do. Don't worry, make a contingent offer. The market's softer. No, not that soft. And actually, it's a good way to leave you with a lot of uncertainty in the whole transaction and add a ton of stress. Now, a lot of times contingent offers will fail. They'll fail because the contract of the buyer that they have is failing, or they haven't sold yet. They put their house on the market and it doesn't sell, right? Then what are they going to do? I've also had situations where in this MLS, just so you know, the multiple listing service is not your friend. They're trying to make everything generic. They're trying to support the real estate agents and not necessarily the sellers, in my view, the way they operate. And here is an example. One of them is that, let's say that a buyer makes an offer on your home, contingent on their home selling. Oh, by the way, it is or isn't on the market, but it's not sold. The MLS rules are that you have to change the status in the MLS to tell the world that you have accepted a contract contingent on this maybe buyer, right, selling their home. But what if they don't sell, or what if they can't sell? And when you change the status in the MLS, it goes out to all of the tech company websites like Realtor.com, Homes.com, and Zillow, and tells the world it's under contract. In other words, it's not available. In other words, demand destruction on your home. Yet you don't even know if this buyer can buy. And I actually had it happen to me about 2 years ago. I tried to talk the sellers out of it, but the buyer agent insisted, no, I want the status to change to right of refusal. So what that did is immediately after that, this was a buyer that Their house was not on the market. And I asked the agent, I said, okay, well, where are you going to price that home? And her answer was, I don't know, but it has granite in the kitchen. And they came back with their counter proposal and said, we insist that the status is changed to right of refusal. And their home wasn't even on the market yet. So seller wanted to do it, much to my contrary advice. And immediately all the other showings stopped and went out on the internet showing as if it was under contract. In other buyers' minds, the other buyers who don't have a house to sell looked at that online and said, oh, guess what? That one's not available. It's already sold, or it's going to be sold. I'm wasting my time going to look at that house. So what ended up happening, the buyers went ahead and did their inspection early. Thank God, from the skies above, the deal fell apart over a really minor inspection repair. And then the buyers wanted back into the contract after that happened. And I asked the sellers, they were like, well, we want this buyer. I said, I understand. But at this point, 2 weeks into it, their home was on the market. I go look at it online. It was no kidding. It was priced at least $150,000 above what the market could command for that size home in that location. So then I caught the sellers are still like, well, I really want that buyer. Can't you see if they could buy without selling their home? Because they really didn't owe very much. So I asked the lender, and the answer was no, they have to sell before they can buy this home. So finally we broke up with that buyer, which was a good thing. And we went on to sell it to somebody else. So these contingent offers can backfire in multiple ways. It could backfire for you as a buyer buying in another market because you could get kicked out of that contract. If they get another offer and the other offer is better and you can't remove your sale contingency, you get booted out of that house and they take buyer number 2. So there's a lot of landmines to working that way. And that's what most agents have as a solution. They don't have anything else. So, most people think, okay, well, I'm just going to sell my home first, put everything in storage, and move twice, essentially, which is very painful. Or some actually buy their next home first, and they carry the expenses of 2 homes. Now, there's not very many people that actually have the financial ability to do that. But we have another solution that's really, really great. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how to buy your next home without selling your current home. And next up, we're going to be covering those stress-free ways to make that transition. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Richard Randall here, and we're talking with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and the owner-proprietor of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can reach Barb at 719-301-3900. Now, Barb, how do home sellers buy their next home before selling their current home without breaking the bank?
Well, Richard, the traditional way, the things that most real estate agents tell you to do, which is a really weak solution, put your house on the market, get a contract, hope everything goes through, and then either close and find your next home or go make an offer contingent on everything going through. But if you're a seller and you're looking at an offer contingent on the close, the seller not only has to worry about the buyer that wants to buy their home, but they also have to worry about the buyer that wants to buy their buyer's home. So it's kind of like a double jeopardy in that scenario. There's a lot of opportunities for the deal to fall apart. So we have 3 different fantastic buy before you sell programs. 2 of them involve getting equity out of your house before you buy your next home without having to make a payment or without having a loan. It just becomes a lien on your current home. That's a really great solution. And my favorite one personally is the buy before you sell program, where our preferred lender goes in and buys your next home for cash. And then you go on to sell your home after that. You are responsible for rent being accrued on that house that they bought for you, but you don't have to start paying rent for 2 months. So it gives you time to get your house sold. That's a really great solution. It's also a very inexpensive solution. So if you want to find out more details about that, give us a call. We'd love to sit down and talk with you about the options to make that transition. And that kind of thing allows you to make stronger offers on your dream home and move without moving twice, stress-free. And actually, it can be pulled off. They can grab your next home and buy it within 5 days. So to find out more about all of our buy before you sell programs without the risk, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker, host of the program, owner broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing selling a rental home and how to stay sane while you're doing it.
I think number 2 is how to change real estate agents.
Okay, how the hell
right.
am I doing? Barbara, I gotta apologize to you because you are exactly right. How and why to change?
Can you just change that little phrase?
Yeah, I will. When I left on Tuesday, I thought I had everything sorted out, and apparently I didn't. I just scooped it up and put it all together. So I've got, page 7 here, page 8 there. Let's just do this real quickly. And 3, 2, 1.
Script anyway.
When we come back, we'll be discussing how and why to change real estate agents when the sale just isn't working here in Colorado. Stay tuned for that. Does that work?
How do I do on time? I forgot to restart one part.
Let's see.
You were fine, Barb.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for being patient. I can't believe
We got this.
It's like a Gordian knot made out of paper.
Are you doing origami over there and I didn't know?
And here, I just found the actual page that I was supposed to be getting out with.
Of course. There it is. Well, daggum.
Are we good?
Yeah.
All right, count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with the host of the program, that is Barb Schlinker, owner broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most home sellers have a great deal of love for their properties, but sometimes that translates into an unrealistic belief, resulting in mistakes either in agent selection, pricing, marketing, or all 3 of them. So, Barb, what should a home seller do if their house is just not selling?
Well, Richard, it's basically it's a decision the home seller has to make. They did sign a contract for the agent to handle the sale exclusively, and there's a date for that contract. But there are some ways out of the contract if the home seller feels as though the agent failed to do what they promised to do. And as far as the home not selling, I mean, in general, selling real estate is broken down into 3 different categories. The first one, of course, is preparation. Now, not everybody prepares. A lot of people sell it as is. I mean, I had a crack house sell that you couldn't even go inside because it was condemned and you had to sign a waiver to get in. And that one sold with a bidding war. So, and it sold way more than I would ever think of paying for it. But I think there's a pent up demand for fix and flipper guys. But anyway, the point is the most important decision that a home seller is going to make about selling a home, it's not necessarily the marketing. It definitely is promotion. I will say promotion has something to do with it because I've seen agents take really bad pictures. They're too cheap to buy professional photos. So what do? They take their smartphone and they take happy snaps, which the pictures look pretty good on their smartphone. But the problem is a true professional photographer knows they've got the equipment to make the lighting look good, make the width of the room look good, and really present the home like a showcased home. And if they don't do that, the buyers will reject it based on that one sole thing. But that's the number 2 point. The number 1 point is price. If it is not priced right, you can't get them in the door. I don't care how pretty the pictures are. I don't care how fabulous the marketing is. I don't care if the agent left out that it had a tankless water heater. It does not matter. Number 1 is price. Now, right now, there's about 2,600 more homes on the market than we have buyers. In other words, they're not all sold. In 2022 and 2021, we went through a period where there were very few homes on the market, and it was just a dog pile of buyers bidding up the homes. But that here we are 5 years later is not the same world at all, but it's still a fairly strong market. It's nothing like Florida that has dropped like an elevator. So it's absolutely important for a home seller to make a really good decision about who they're going to partner with to get the home sold. And this is like, for most people, it's important. It's their largest asset. It means a lot to them. There's a lot to think about. But number 1 is price, and then followed by promotion, and preparation is a part of it if you want to maximize the price. So let's start with that. Let's start with preparation. The what to do for a lot of home sellers is kind of a mystery. They don't know how to approach it. They don't know how to get ready for photo day. Neither do a lot of agents. They have no idea. If you go up and look at homes online, you'll see what I'm talking about. You see pictures of trash bags. You see beds that are not made. You see dishes in the sink. It's like, come on, really? It's only a 30-minute appointment to get the photos done, and you couldn't prepare for that, or the agent couldn't tell the homeowner to do that. So you want to have your most critical relative look at your pictures and start there and see if there is some kind of presentation problem with the home. Some of the preparation stuff is relatively easy. It's just decluttering. And here's the problem. We have the consumers assume that real estate agents, based on maybe the number of years, or I'm a broker, I'm whatever, are really good agents. But that may not necessarily be true. I think the volume of sales absolutely factors into it. But here's the really cold hard facts. These are numbers according to Zillow. 72% of agents last year sold 0 homes. So if they don't know what works, and if they haven't sold, why would you trust them with one of your largest assets? It's like asking a surgeon to operate on you and they've never done it before. I mean, it's crazy. Not quite that critical, but it's still, it's a little nerve-wracking. 81% of agents sell 3 or less homes in a year. And there's a massive turnover. More than 90% of agents get out of the business every 5 years. You wouldn't believe how many agents call me always after hours. It's never during business hours. So half the time, I swear they're at the bar or at a restaurant, and that might be where they're working because they can't make money in real estate. So it's not a full-time gig for them. So it's really important that you ask the right questions when you hire a real estate agent. But preparation is pretty basic, and you can look at pictures online and say, ooh, I like that, ooh, I don't like that, to be able to tell. Declutter. It's going to look like nobody lives there with your eye in person, but on camera, the more austere it looks, the better. Now, I personally prefer to see furniture in a house versus empty rooms. I think empty rooms takes away the warmth of the home, also the visualization of scale and size and how they could set furniture. So if I am presenting an empty home, I'm going to digitally stage it because I want the buyers to visualize themselves living there. Now, promotion, in my view, and I have a lot of my own opinions, the multiple listing service is not enough. But unfortunately, what most agents do is what I call post and hope. They get some pictures, maybe good, maybe not, stick them in the MLS, write a quick description, and just hope one of the other thousands of agents has a buyer. They don't have buyers half the time. And are they showing up with offers and options out of the gate? No, they're probably not doing that either. We do that. We show up with offers and options to make that transition. Do they have great photos, or are they going to use their happy snaps, with their cell phone? Are they marketing the best attributes of the home? I had one home seller about a year and a half back that it was a beautiful ranch style home with a basement, a finished basement. It had a covered patio. It was a gorgeous house, but it wasn't marketed like a gorgeous house. The pictures were absolutely awful. And so nobody came. So they overpriced it. They slowly walked the price down. This military couple, they were overseas at the time. They actually spent the money to bring in staging furniture into the house. But the problem was the pictures were still bad. So nobody came to see the house. So it was two whammies. It was overpriced and it wasn't properly promoted. So they fired them, hired us, and we sold it full price in 9 days. Now, I'm not suggesting a switch. I would, give your agent an opportunity first to correct a problem if there's a problem, right? Give them a chance to resolve the issue, because I learn every day. I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything like that. I'm just saying that, a lot of people assume that some of the automation that we have built in for feedback and all that is working, but the sellers want to know the day after or the day of the showing, what did the buyers think that went into the home? And it's really hard to get that. A lot of times the agents, if the buyer's not willing to make an offer, they don't bother giving feedback. Plus they have to go into this app and log in here and do this and do that just to get to that space. It's just not a priority for them. So we have to chase them down. I had to hire another party to actually text them and get the information. Hold on just a second. Ladies talking are very loud. Okay, ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so if you have to have that conversation with your agent, don't feel bad, just be brutally honest. What are the problems? So number one is the communication. These are the normal issues that we see for home sellers wanting to being dissatisfied with their current agent. Lack of communication, failure to sell. Okay, failure to sell is probably a pricing problem, could be promotion, but it's more than likely pricing. Or failure to promote the interest of the seller. I just talked with one seller yesterday that received an offer. Well, actually, the agent had the offer, but she never gave it to the seller. He never. So, that's a problem, because now that they want to break up, he's like, well, if this buyer comes back and buys, you owe me money. It's like, you never showed me that offer. So there's a lot of weird landmines in some of these contracts that you really have to pay attention. The state requires that we give the agents, that we give our consumers a copy of everything that they signed. And if they're older and they don't do, email, electronic stuff, you got to give them a hard copy. I like to do both just in case. But it is an obligation to do good faith, loyalty, fidelity to help them make the move. So my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how and why to make a change on real estate agents and how to do that. And next up, we're going to talk about some details that might help you if you decide to make that transition. If you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you are thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Now, Barb, if a home seller has to make a real estate switch, What are reasons and ways to change that real estate agent?
Um, well, I think a reason would be if the seller feels as though their agent did not perform according to whatever they promised in writing or orally. That's already baked into the contract. But you got to make sure you read that contract. I just was talking to somebody recently that the seller wants to break up with that person, and that person is demanding money for marketing and demanding money from the new agent that they hire, and there was nothing in that contract about that. So they don't get to make it up on the fly. It's all about what's written. And the state requires that we use our exclusive right to sell agreements. So a seller could cancel if the agent abandoned them, if they fail to fulfill their obligations, okay? Or if they don't perform their uniform duties, like perform any written oral agreements, present all offers in a timely manner. I've heard of some agents that they met with the seller, they asked to change the price, but they never changed the price online. Or just the opposite, they changed the price without permission. All of those things are really bad failures, and you want to make sure that that doesn't happen. But if your contract is not expired, there's some agents that stick in there something called a holdover policy, and it is very hard to enforce it. First of all, um, really, what it says is if during the listing with that agent they presented an offer in writing with names on it, and that same buyer comes back with the second agent and buys, and you built in a holdover time frame in that contract, the seller could owe a commission to the first agent. But there has to be a written offer. And it has to also be what they call an unbroken chain of events. So there's a lot of gotchas in there, mostly designed to protect the consumer, not to protect the agent. The other part that's hard for people is just breaking the bad news. So I would annotate everything that's a problem. Okay. Nobody likes doing this. Be tactful, be honest. A good person will accept responsibility and either make a correction or release them, whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay. At the end of the day, not everybody works well together. And if you decide to break up, it's all right. But it's not okay for an agent to hold that client hostage for the term of the contract and not let them list with anybody else. I think that's a good way to get in a lot of trouble. And I think when agents do that, the problem is it sets that bad taste in the clients and everybody they know, their mouth about how that went down. And I just know from experience, bad news travels a lot faster than good news. You're always better off being honest, open, okay, we're moving on. And we actually offer a cancellation guarantee because we want happy clients. We want referrals. That's how our business really grows. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you are thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900. Or as always, visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be discussing selling a rental home and how to keep your sanity while you're doing that. Barb thinks she knows how to keep her sanity. I could use somebody telling me how to keep my sanity.
What's Barb think about anxiety?
We're talking about anxiety today, Barb, and I've always assumed that there's a ton of anxiety out there. And on the other hand, when I saw some of the numbers, I was pretty surprised, to be honest with you. But these are, I think part of it is the times that we live in, but part of it too, I'm convinced, is just that we've got so much more information than we did before. And I think people who, like at least in my family, who don't have much anxiety, it's because they don't look at much. They're not looking at the news the way you and I are.
Yeah, it's easy to get sucked into all that and spend too much time on it. So I have to just turn it off and focus. And I turn on my disco music and I'm happy.
There you are. What is your favorite disco song?
Oh, I like all the old 80s dance songs,
It was good stuff. I mean, it was such a wild time because I liked rock and roll. So I did not anticipate liking disco. And at least so I'm in college and it's fraternity and stuff. And the only reason that it was disco is that's where the girls were. You wanted to meet girls, you went to a disco. You go to a disco, you should know how to dance and dress and stuff. And so I just thought, well, I'll tolerate this music. But the music was so good that it doesn't take long before you're not tolerating it. You're, looking to find more of it.
Yeah, if it's too chill, I'll fall asleep,
Yeah.
I'll get too sleepy. I won't focus. So I need something to kind of get me up and go, okay, but I'm not really, if I watch YouTube while I'm sitting there trying to work, it'll just suck me in and I won't be able to get anything done. So I can't work that way.
Whereas if you're working and you've got Vicky Sue Robinson, Turn the Beat Around, or the Tramps, Disco Inferno, or
Pointer Sisters,
yep,
all that stuff. So it's you have to compartmentalize that because you can't do anything about it. That's the way I see it.
I'm trying to get more and more to that point, and my problem is I go down a rabbit hole, and it's like last night I'm whipping along and then I've got 2 videos of people being thrown off buildings in Iran.
Yeah, that just breaks my heart. I can't look at this one.
You know what? Until it broke my heart. I was so angry. I'm like, they're just throwing this guy off of a building because he's gay or something, for God's sakes. And then I found out that the captioning said that the guy was a pedophile. And I've always said that I'd be happy to be in a execution if I had to pull a lever, if I had to pull a trigger, if there's a firing squad, give me a gun. So if I'm on top of a building and there's a pedophile who just raped a 2-year-old, would I give him a shove? I would. All right, I got number 3 here on a brighter note.
Thank you.
Yes, right. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker. Now, Barb, sometimes people decide to sell a rental home. So what are some of the things that they should be prepared to do if they're going to make that kind of a sale?
There's a lot more involved with it now. It used to be that, hey, your lease is up, I'm not going to renew, I'm going to sell it. But now we're actually, hang on just a second, something open. The agents are blowing up the phone over all my new listings. And it rings on this little laptop here.
Well, that calls for a congratulations, just incidentally.
Thank you. I got 5 holding open this weekend, so 6 actually. So it's kind of like, okay, no, you can't get in before the open house, and they're just calling and whatever. So I have an assistant, but when it rings on this CRM software, it makes a ding dong on that laptop. So sorry about that. Okay. Might have to back up a little bit, David. So.
No worries.
All right, you'll figure it out.
I've got it marked.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So, it used to be the lease was expiring, say the end of June, that was fine. And then you just would tell the tenant you're not going to renew. But they added a whole bunch of new laws with it now. And they basically said you can't not renew and then raise the rent and put a different tenant in there. You can't do that. So basically now you have to give minimum 90 days, but the attorneys are saying 120 days written notice before the end of their term of their lease to let them know you're not going to renew the lease and you're going to sell the property. And then you have to do what you say you're going to do, or you can get in trouble. They could take you to court. So nobody wants that. And it's really kind of turning to California as far as what the laws are now. There's a lot more to it. I'm not really, one of my colleagues in my office does property management. I don't do that much of it, but you have to be super careful about how you approach it. Everything has to be in writing, and just be very particular. So let's say you're thinking, okay, I'm going to sell that rental. The lease is going to end the end of June. I have given notice in the appropriate time for the Colorado laws right now. Okay, great. And then when they move out, the problems that a lot of home sellers run into is that, oh boy, I didn't expect it to be in that condition. I didn't expect the carpet to be trashed or the walls to be trashed because they had little kids, making a mess. So then there's repairs that you have to line up to get that stuff done. You also have to think about tax consequences as well. Unlike a primary residence where you'd have to really have the property for a long time to be concerned about having to pay capital gains if it is your primary residence. The way that's defined, by the way, is if you've lived in it 2 of the last 5 years. So I had one client that did live in it 2 of the last 5 years, but the last 2 years they rented it. So they are going to have to get issued a 1099, but that doesn't mean that they're going to pay capital gains taxes. But if it is just solely a rental and you've had it for a rental for longer than 2 of the last 5 years, and you're a resident, you will have to pay capital gains on the profit. And the problem with that is that every year on taxes, the IRS requires you to depreciate the property. What that means, just like depreciating a car or something, pretty much every year it's going to cost about $10,000 per year per property. So it's a benefit on the tax write-off, but when you go to sell it, it reduces down your basis. Meaning, if you paid $200,000 for the house, then you rented it for 10 years, that would be $100,000 if I got that right. That you took it basically, 120,000 that you reduced it by, then your basis becomes a lower number. And then when you sell it, you have to pay taxes on that delta, that gain. That's a very simple way to explain something that's probably a lot more complicated. But at the end of the day, it means that you have to really talk to your tax professional and make sure you're going to be comfortable. There are some people that don't want to use the little tax exempt thing that's called a 1031 exchange. That allows you to not have to pay taxes on the profit, but you don't get to capture any of that money. You have to roll it over into your next property. But there's some people that just want the money and they want to do something else with it, and that's fine. And we can help you calculate roughly what your taxes would be, and you would just set that money aside for the following year when taxes are due. Also, if you're an out-of-state investor, the title companies will collect 2% on the sales price to give the state of Colorado tax money when you sell a rental property if you are not a resident. A lot of people ask me, should I leave the tenants there and sell it with the tenants there? It can be done. Every once in a while, you'll get lucky and have a tenant that decorates beautifully, is very cooperative with you with the showings and stuff, and it could work out well. I've had it work out well in my own practice in the past, but most of the time, the tenants don't want to go. They don't want to show it. They will not make it very easy for you to show. Like, it might be in your lease, but you have to give 24-hour notice. And then they may not make the house pretty. It's kind of hard to make that transition. So I recommend waiting until the tenants moved out. And, because it just depends. And the condition that it would be in, like, most of the time, the tenants will do some kind of damage or destruction, either to paint or carpet or other stuff. I guarantee you they're not taking care of the landscaping like you would do. And so you have to kind of put your retail hat on when you're selling a home. You have to think, all right, does the carpet smell bad? Does the carpet need to be replaced? Can the buyer move straight in? Or is it a fixer-upper? And for both of those options, there's a different price for it. If it's all remodeled, ready to go, boom, you're probably going to get top dollar. If it's not, you really have to change the price of it to make it more attractive. Now, there are some exceptions. Last year, we sold a multifamily home, and it was in a good location. And I think for some reason, and I don't have my finger on why, the multifamily homes tend to sell for a premium, even if they're in average condition, because for an investor, they like to invest in multiple doors and they can really make that cash flow work. So I've seen some multifamily homes sell at prices that, to me, the dollars and cents did not make sense. But to the investor, I had bidding wars. So I'm like, okay, something I don't know that they're leveraging to buy this property. So you want to consider, go look at the house, 60 days before you plan to sell it, and consider the things that you're going to have to remodel. In general, any broken stuff, any deferred maintenance really needs to be taken care of. If you don't do that, it will affect your sales price, probably by more than what it would cost to fix it. I'm not talking about a full-on kitchen remodel in Corinthian leather or anything like that. I'm talking about, is the formica broken? Is the carpet tired? Does it need to be paint? So you should kind of have that in your budget before it's time to sell, because most of the time during turnover, there's going to be something that needs to be fixed. The most popular things that buyers want are fresh flooring. So generally, you're going to spend $3,000 to $5,000 on that. Fresh appliances. If you can do updated kitchen, it could be, you could get a whole set of new appliances for about $3,000, $3,500. You could get new Formica counters for a couple thousand. I have an investor client that it somehow gets quartz at a really low price. I don't know how he does it. I'd like to know. But anyway, I've had some clients go a different direction and find somebody that actually fixed a burn mark on Formica. That was extraordinary, but this is kind of what I'm talking about. So this was before. What you can't see with this picture, it's white Formica, but the edges, they kind of tear off with all the wear and tear. And this is the after, where they just brought in new Formica, spent a couple $1,000s, and that home sold. Another thing that's very attractive to buyers buying a home would be little things like updated light fixtures, updated plumbing fixtures. Look in the bathrooms. There's a rule that we have with marketing that we don't want the shower curtains closed, because when you take pictures with the shower curtains closed, the buyer automatically assumes that there's mold back there. So you want to make sure that the tub surrounds and shower surrounds are free of any discoloration. I'm not saying it's mold, but it's some kind of mildew, right? You can update, refresh the grout, do something like that to make it look fresh and clean for the buyer. Another thing to consider is the mechanical systems, the furnace, the water heater. We just replaced our water heaters. They were 22 years old and they weren't broken yet, but I felt like at some point it was going to happen. I just didn't want it to happen when we were out of town. And each one cost $2,500. So if you are thinking of making a move, this is what we help people do, is get them ready to sell their property, give them tips on what to do and what not to do to get their house ready for sale. Go over all the costs so you know what you'll put in your pocket when it sells. And if you are thinking of making a move, selling any kind of property, call us at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you are thinking of making a move, you can call Barb at 719 301 3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. So, Barb, what are some other things that people should really consider when they're selling a rental home?
Well, I think, this applies for any home, but generally with a rental home, you want to make sure it's clean. My experience from owning rental properties, I don't care how new the house is, they will trash the landscaping. And this time of year, it's a little tricky. We're in between snow and summer. So it's a little hard to go in and put fresh plants and mulch and stuff like that. And it could get killed with a sudden freeze. However, you can do things like mulch bed. Critical is pricing. Doesn't mean underpricing. It's just that there's always a sweet spot where the buyers are very interested in your home. Now we know how to do that. It's really not a good idea to add money for negotiating room. If there's over 2,500 homes on the market, that means there's 2,500 homes that are overpriced, okay, because they're not selling. So you want to make sure that you price it very realistically and position it so it's the most attractive home on the market in that price range, in that location at that time. And we can help you do that. Typically the tenant will clear out their stuff, but sometimes they leave junk behind. They're bad about landscaping, they're tough on flooring, they're tough on paint, but these little things can really make a difference online. And just so you know, the buyers are eliminating homes online. After price, pictures are your first showing. They are deciding whether or not they want to spend their gas money to go look at the house based on the photos. And I'm showing some pictures here of some really bad marketing done by other agents during the boom. The one on the left has the shower curtain closed. There's all in this little bathroom, there's all kinds of junk on the counters, there's rugs on the floor, and it's not attractive. The middle picture is a picture of a closet, and at the bottom of the closet, there's two big full trash bags. Now, how does that attract a buyer? And I've showed buyers that picture and they'll say, I wouldn't even go to that house. If they don't care enough to make it look good when they're presenting it online, then it's going to be worse when I get there. And usually that's true. So they won't waste their gas money to go see it. So this kind of gives you an idea on what's most important to buyers. They want move-in ready if they can get it, but if it's not move-in ready, it has to be priced very aggressively so the buyers can put their own personalization on the home. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, owner, broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and the host of the program. If you're thinking of making a move, that's who you want to call at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. This discussion dovetails in with the next topic. So when we come back, we'll be discussing the best way to sell a house fast in Colorado's higher inventory market. Plus, we'll have Barb's hot new listings. Stay tuned for that. For them. There we are. I need to run the men's room real quick. Okay.
Is everything okay, Barb?
I realized I didn't have all the listings on the list,
Okay.
especially the ones I'm holding open this weekend. Problem.
No, it's good. I've got stuff I can do right now, in fact, anyway.
Okay.
All right. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, a lot of people look at those automated valuations like on Zillow or their neighbor's asking price to try to determine what their home is actually worth, especially now that it's taking longer to sell a home. How does a home seller know the value of their home and sell it faster in this market?
Well, Richard, it's a lot of people will tell me, oh, Zillow says it's worth X, but what they don't know is, and I checked this on AI, everything on AI must be true, but I'm thinking this probably is true, that on Zillow, the actual estimates or valuations of your home, they call it an algorithm, which sounds really cool, but it's based on the other homes around you that are available for sale that have not sold. So imagine this, you're going to just get with the pack like everybody else and go, oh, look, they're asking so much, therefore my house must be worth the same amount, more or less, right? And that's a huge mistake because buyers are looking for um, good buys right now. And I think that if you just go with the flow and do what everybody else is doing with 2,600 more homes on the market than we have buyers, you're going to be disappointed when you go on the market and there aren't very many showings and there's not any offers. It just doesn't work. So pricing is absolutely the most important decision that you make when you decide to sell your home. So the wrong price, the market's going to reject it right away. And you'll be able to tell. It's not mysterious. It will trigger what they call buyer resistance. It causes the buyers to go, oh, I like the location, but let's wait and see. Let's see if it comes down. It seems kind of high. It leads to price reductions. And according to the National Association of Realtors, this isn't just Barb talking, you will net less money in the end when you price too high and slowly walk the price down. Now, with the advent of HGTV and all these, shows that you see on TV or on YouTube about homes, in general, the sellers want the most money that they can get, but the buyers, they're pickier than ever. Regardless of the price range, they want move-in ready HGTV at any price range. And then you've got the advent of these, what they call iBuyers, which are investors that, yeah, they'll come in and they'll make, lowball offers. Some of them are so bad, they're like going to steal half of your equity, which I don't think is fair. I don't think that's really a good offer. Our investor offers actually come in at or sometimes above full market value. So generally we'll show up with offers when we meet with home sellers. But here's what really happens if you go on the market and you've overpriced a home. The market is going to tell you right away. You can tell by if there's 10 days without showings, the property's been rejected and it's probably priced. What the buyers are really saying is we like the home, but not at that price, or the value just doesn't justify that price. So what happens in the market is that showings slow down, the days on market increase, which is also a negative connotation on a property. And then buyers use it more for comparing other properties. And they generally won't come to see your house. They are going to vote with their feet. They are not going to drive by and see it if they think it's priced too high. And that value kind of drops the longer this goes on. And eventually you have to reduce the price. So according to the National Association of Realtors, if you slowly walk the price down, you're going to net less money. And those automated valuations, they're just not accurate. It just averages the homes around you that have not sold. When the price is too high, the demand slows, the inventory builds, the adjustment follows. Worse yet is the home gets kind of tired online and it gets pushed down. It doesn't get boosted up to the top of the search engines. When a home is priced right, you have high traffic, you have more competition, the value is confirmed by the demand, and the buyers are less likely to ask for concessions or negotiate if you have it priced right. And this is true in any industry, airlines, hotels, homes, it doesn't matter. The market isn't emotional, it gives instant feedback, and you can tell by the number of showings. If it's priced just right, typically your home is going to sell in less than the time of the average of right now, over 100 days on the market. And if there are if there's a lower asking price and you have competition, you're more likely to have multiple offers on your home. I just put one under contract just the weekend before last. We ended up having a great crowd at the grand opening. We had 7 offers and we ended up with pretty close to 10% over asking crew. That, you know, that's the time I tell the world that, okay, it's not available. Now, pricing it just right doesn't necessarily mean that you have to update a home. We sold a home last year. It was so cute. It was built in the 1960s. The daughter of the owner actually has quite a knack for decorating. It looks adorable. The only thing we suggested that they did was they had kind of grainy carpet over the top of really beautiful hardwood floors. And her husband's handy, so he pulled off that carpet and just made it look spectacular. We ended up having a huge crowd at the open house, multiple offers, and it sold for well over asking price. Now, if you price it on the low side, yeah, there's going to be some buyers that come in and offer asking price, right? Because a lot of the agents don't really know values. I learned that last year. I was assuming, well, of course they know this home is priced realistically. This home is priced below similar sales. No, the agents don't know that. In fact, the buyers probably know it before the agents know it. And I learned that when I had a house for sale that absolutely needed work. It needed structural work. And we had it priced 100,000 below similar sales. But it was clear to me that the agents had no clue. They just went and opened the door and let them in. If the buyer liked it, great, we'll make an offer. If not, we'll move on. They'll try to get them to buy something else. That's how a lot of them operate. They don't really walk in with education about whether or not this home was positioned to really get a lot of buyers. So it's absolutely critical that you price the home what I call realistically versus optimistically. So how do you do that? You got to compare not only what has sold, that's good for appraisers, but you also have to take a look at what's out there. What does your competition look like? That's what the buyers care about. They don't care about what's sold. They care about what can they get in their price range. And that's why making those really empirical choices about where to position the home price-wise is absolutely critical. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. If you have questions from that website, you can book a quick call with Barb. I'd love to talk with you briefly and see if you want us to come by and talk about selling your home. If you do go to the next step, then we'll sit down with you. We'll do a fair amount of research before we show up. We'll take a look at your home, give you tips on how to prepare, what to do, what not to do to get your house ready for sale, give you a really good idea what your home will sell for and how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells. And it's a free service. You're never obligated to sell. So give us a call, 719-301-3900. Richard?
To your real estate voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can listen to replays of the show anytime on all of the major podcast platforms and Barb's YouTube channel as well, Barb Schlinker. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb, 719-301-3900. Now, Barb, what are some other magic bullets on pricing your home to get that top dollar?
Well, in general, what I find works is if home sellers don't build in negotiating room in their price, because the buyers see it right away. They see everything around you and they know if it's a good deal or not. And then once you go on the market, you're going to know if you're on target. You're going to be able to tell by the ratio of Zillow views to saves, by the showing volume, by the feedback, if you're getting offers, all those factors play into it. And you really need to work with an agent that understands pricing. Now, I spend a lot of time negotiating with my own clients about a pricing decision. And I do that because I want to make sure that they win. And it depends on what their goals are. I've had people tell me, hey, I'm not in a hurry. I'm fine with waiting and going nice and slow with this, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, you want to make sure you priced it realistically. And those are the people that get their homes sold very quickly and for the most money. I helped a couple last year sell their house. They priced it just slightly below market, not too much. We ended up having a huge crowd, 63 people at the grand opening. We got 3 offers. It sold for nearly 10% over asking price, and he got the closing date and the terms exactly how he wanted, including he only wanted to pay 2% commission to the buyer's agent. Now, I tell agents, they call me all the time. Well, will your seller pay my fee? And I'm like, depends on the offer. Put it in your offer. If you're going to bring a bad offer, maybe not. But if you bring a good offer, I've had some sellers say, yeah, I'm fine with paying their fees. So it really depends. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker. This is your real estate voice. And if you're thinking of selling your home, you want to get the most amount of money, of course, call Barb, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Now, Barb, you've got some hot new listings. Tell us about them.
Well, I'm excited. I've got a huge bunch of open houses this weekend. Beautiful one at 1707 Robideau Circle. This gorgeous home is priced at $389,999. It's in pristine condition, and that one's scheduled for 12 to 1. We've got another beautiful one that's a gardener's dream, 4870 Balsam Street, priced at $519,999. 3-car garage in perfect condition and move-in ready with an addition. Another stellar home on 7738 Desert Wind Drive. This one is priced at $599,999. It's a huge home, 3,800 square feet. It's got a 3-car garage. It has this beautiful enclosed sunroom it adds another room to the house. Really lovely home. And we have a fabulous deal in the 80911 zip code, 920 Binger Drive. This remodeled home has an updated kitchen, updated baths. It has a 2-car attached garage, a detached oversized 1-car, plus a super long carport. It's like the toy master's dream to have a home like that, priced at $424,999. We'll be holding that one open from 3 to 4. Another gorgeous one at 8611 Chancellor Drive in prestigious Fairfax and Briargate. Beautiful ranch, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car, priced at $399,999. The perfect downsizer's home with no HOA, no added cost. We also have a beautiful home up in Crystal Park. I don't know if you've ever been there, Richard. It's back on the backside of Manitou. You drive up the mountain, and the seller was telling me there's they have in their house, they have screens that are bear proof. So if they have the door open, the bears can't come in and help themselves to the kitchen. But it's a stunning house, almost new home with a detached RV garage and an assumable VA loan. So did you know that if the seller is allowing you to assume their low interest VA loan, you don't have to be a veteran to assume it? So if you want to find out more, give us a call, 719-301-3900. Another gorgeous home down south of Pueblo on 60 plus acres, 6550 Reno Road at 599. Beautiful starter home, 3441 West Monica Circle, 359.9. Gorgeous patio home. We're holding that one open this weekend, 12 to 1, 4268 Portside Place at 449. Backs to open space with views. A gorgeous ranch in Peyton, 10890 Cascading Springs Drive in perfect condition with a lot of smart home features at 489.9. Beautiful home on Mead Avenue at 335. And there are lots more. Also an amazing hobby farm, custom home on Judge Orr Road, and a stunning estate up in County Road 421 in Florissant. To find out about all of our homes, including our coming soon homes, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com and click on featured homes. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, you can reach Barb at 719-301-3900. Or as always, visit barbhasthebuyers.com. That does it for this week. Barb, you have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.